his pick kind of got upstaged by this huge trade that happened where the Browns were in position to draft Travis Hunter, but instead the Jacksonville Jaguars under new GM James Gladstone moved up, giving up a haul to get Travis Hunter, trading the number 5 overall pick that they had, their second round pick this year, number 36, including a 4th round pick this year and next year's first for them to the Browns for number 2 overall to select Hunter, a 4th round pick, and a 6th round pick. So in essence, swapping ones, the Jags throw in another 1 and a 2. It's kind of a huge price.
Oh, yeah.
But for a guy like Hunter, it might be worth it. What do you think?
Well, that's definitely the tough thing. It definitely puts a lot of pressure on Hunter to succeed if that wasn't already there. I don't know. It's funny because I've seen all different, both sides of the spectrum when it comes to responses to this. I had one friend message me and just say, "Holy crap, the Jaguars overpaid." That is a massive overpay. But I also get why a lot of Jags fans are super excited for this because they potentially got a generational talent in Hunter. If he ends up living up to everything that supposedly he's supposed to be, he could be the big thing in Jacksonville for a long time to come. But obviously there's a lot of risks to it. You are potentially giving up a very high pick next year, depending on how good you are, right? That is certainly the risk. Because I don't think, obviously they weren't very good to get, I believe their original pick was the 5th overall, right? They weren't very good in the first place last year. So if they repeat that, and Travis Hunter maybe starts a little bit slow, that trade is going to start to look bad really, really fast. But on the other side of things, if Travis Hunter ends up being the big thing that was missing, the final piece, and that 1st round pick ends up falling later on in the draft, I don't think they're going to care as much. Then it works out, right? But it's a lot of pressure on Hunter for sure. If I know it's already there. He is the type of player that we have not seen in a very long time since the likes of Deion Sanders. So the pressure is definitely on. If it wasn't, I think if this trade just makes it harder, right, on Travis Hunter for sure. At least in my opinion.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know if it makes it harder on Travis Hunter as much as it does to put a ton of pressure on this new Jags administration. You know, a new coach in Liam Cohen, new GM and James Gladstone. Yeah, I mean, if Travis Hunter goes to the Browns, I think there is still some of that same pressure. He's still a number 2 overall pick, whether there's a trade or not. But yeah, no, for the Jags, it's kind of the move where I think they talked about it as kind of reintroducing themselves to say this isn't the old Jags. They're going to go up and they're going to be aggressive and they're going to get this player. And there's quite a bit of back and forth on it, like you said, where it's like, is it an overpay if he becomes this 2-way player, or if he is the Ohtani of football, then you don't blink, like you don't think twice about it, right? But it's incredibly difficult to say that it's going to translate. He said that he'll quit football if he doesn't get to play both ways, so I'm sure they'll give him time on both sides of the ball, but it's probably going to be not full time on one side. You're playing more snaps in the NFL. You're playing more games. How much does that wear and tear on you, right? Like, there is a lot of questions about it. The talent isn't the question. It's just in terms of how are they going to use him and what is that going to look like in that Jags offense or defense. The Jags obviously think it's going to work out. The one thing I wanted to pull up, I don't know if you've heard the speech that the Jags GM gave in Travis Hunter's introduction press conference.
I did not.
You can tell how much they believe in him. I'll just say that. Let me read you this and just picture it's like
Reading
a Hollywood
gospel.
movie, like the climax of a Hollywood movie where the action hero has come in to save the day, and it's just like this big, like movie-ending speech. As we sit here, Travis Hunter is a Jacksonville Jaguar. And really what comes to mind for me, thinking about the sport of football and the power of the game itself, is its capacity to ignite belief. Belief in ourselves, belief in others, belief in achieving what many may deem as impossible. Travis Hunter, he embodies belief. He is a rare person, a rare player. but he is also a reminder that the boundaries on the game of football were built to be changed. And so the decision to select him was actually a statement for how we plan to move, for who we are. And we want him to be nothing more than him, because when he is, he elevates the space around him, from the football field to the city to the game of football itself. Travis Hunter is who we have been hunting. Couldn't be more jacked just sitting right here beside him, and then he introduces him. It's just like, okay, buddy, like, talk about pressure. I mean, you really are talking about him like he's the second coming of Christ.
No,
like,
yeah, no, that's literally
he's gonna change the boundaries of football. Like, my God.
Yeah, dude just needs to start walking on water, and he's pretty much got he's got the rest down.
Yeah, no, seriously. Yeah, no, if there wasn't any pressure before, that did it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, again, like, when you are involved in a trade like that, it just brings up the pressure, right? Like, again, I totally agree with you. No matter what, it was going to be there for Travis Hunter. But I think the fact that Jacksonville has completely pushed all their chips in just adds even more, right? Like, if there could not be more pressure on Travis Hunter at this point. My question, because we've talked a lot about Jacksonville, we've talked a lot about Travis Hunter. I'm more curious what you think about the Browns side of things. Because obviously, if you do think that Travis Hunter is this generational player, they just passed on him. They had the chance to take him, and they said, no, we're good. What do you think on the choice by them to trade away the pick?
Again, if he becomes the Ohtani of football, it was a dumb decision. But knowing what you know now, if I have to make... Because, again, with any draft day trade, it's always you got to hedge your bets to say we don't know what's going to happen in the future. But that's no fun. If I had to make proclaim it right now, I would say that the Browns win the trade, just because in terms of where both teams are at, I do think it makes sense for both of them. Jacksonville was a disaster last year. They were a complete dumpster fire. But they have pieces. They have a good quarterback. They have a talented receiver in Brian Thomas that's shown a lot of promise. They have pieces on defense. Again, this team, Jacksonville, was a year away from... They're a couple years removed from their playoff comeback. They've always kind of been in the hunt before last year when the bottom kind of fell out. They have the pieces to make it work. So adding a player like Travis Hunter, it makes more sense to kind of revitalize things and to say, okay, this is where we're heading now. We have the pieces to just kind of go. But with the Browns, that's a lot more of a project. You don't have a quarterback, right? The combination Kenny Pickett, Joe Flacco, Deshaun Watson on one leg, and so other players we'll get to, it doesn't exactly inspire confidence. And while you have players like Myles Garrett, and there's talent throughout that roster, I feel like they're at a much different point where the Browns are, largely because of the quarterback situation there. And so I think that's why it makes a little bit more. It makes sense for both teams, but I do still like it for the Browns because you're not going to compete this year. For the Jags, it's like there's a potential. There's a road for you to compete this year if things start turning your way. But for the Browns, it's like I don't think there's any chance in hell they compete this year. I feel like you just see Travis Hunter kind of doing everything, but there wouldn't be any wider results, and you kind of get lost in the shuffle. And then where do you go from there? But with this, there's potential for that Jags pick, because there's potential for them to compete, but there's potential for the bottom to fall out again. There's potential that they can... Yeah, there's potential that either the Browns pick or the Jags pick could be top 5. If neither of them are, but if they're still in kind of that top 10 range, you can parcel those picks and trade up for a quarterback.
True.
They've set themselves up well for the future. Browns fans are going to have to grit their teeth through the season, but what else is new? I think they can handle it. I think they did good on this trade.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, by the way. I do think that even if Travis Hunter turns into the player that everybody thinks he's going to be, I don't think that the Browns are going to leave this empty-handed by any means. Because even if Travis Hunter starts off his career really, really strong, there's a chance it's still not enough to will the Jaguars into the playoffs. Or, heck, into a winning season. Like, we don't know what Jacksonville is going to look like next year. There were, like, it's such a hard team to try and pin down, in my opinion, because they underperformed so majorly last year. And we know they have talent. We know that Trevor Lawrence can win football games. It's just, can they put it together? Like, that is the real question, right? So, I mean, if they can do it, great. Awesome. If they fail, then I feel like if they do bad next season, I don't know if people are going to be worried, but I feel like a lot of concerns are going to start coming up for Jacksonville because it seemed like they've been the next guy up for the last few years, at least to me. Where I know that going into this offseason, there were some worries around Trevor Lawrence and whether or not he is actually the guy in Jacksonville. I feel like if another losing season probably starts to break, those voices would definitely get louder.
Yeah, and it's to that point about Trevor Lawrence, this move is also a huge vote of confidence for Liam Cohen because you're kind of assuming that Trevor Lawrence is going to get back to what he was in 2022 when he won that playoff game, if not something more closer to what he was projected to be. And we've seen that with Liam Cohen and how he turned around Baker Mayfield, but it is still a huge vote of confidence to say, we're good, we can make this aggressive move, it's okay to go all in. Because the other part of this, too, is that the player that would have been there for Jacksonville at number 5, Mason Graham, who the Browns eventually took, again, it's a top 5 pick in the draft. Well, it's kind of a tier below those top 3 guys in terms of talent. It's still a great player. Still a position that Jacksonville really needs in terms of bulking up the interior of that defensive line. It's where they've struggled for a while. So, yeah, it's a huge vote of confidence in Trevor Lawrence, in Liam Cohen to say this roster can win now. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out in the future. We should probably move on to other parts of this draft. We will. Where should we go next? Let's go. You know what? Let's just go. Why don't we'll go with the stuff everybody's talking about. Why don't we talk about Shizzer Sanders? Like, come on.
Yeah, let's do it.
We're jumping all over the